The great docking bay of the Vilar Empire was cold and quiet. The walls were made of smooth silver metal that reflected the blue lights above. Queen Vera walked fast across the floor. Her long robes swept behind her like water. She was in a hurry. Today was a very important day. She was going to meet her husband. His name was Eric. He was human. They were going to a diplomatic summit on the moon. She had not seen him for 3 weeks. She missed him very much. Her heart felt light. She wanted to hold his hand. She wanted to see his smile. Behind the Queen, her security team moved in perfect steps. There were many guards. Most of them were Vilar aliens. They were tall and had blue skin. They carried heavy energy rifles, but there were also humans in the group. The Vilar Empire had hired human soldiers for protection. The humans were known for being very careful. They were known for noticing that machines missed. One of these humans was Ben Cole. He was a private in the guard unit. He was not very tall. He had short brown hair and calm eyes. He usually walked at the back of the group. He did not speak much. He just watched everything. The group reached the shuttle. It was a sleek ship with white wings. The ramp was down. The door was open. Queen Vera stepped toward the ramp. She was ready to leave. She wanted to start the journey, but suddenly a shadow moved in front of her. It was Ben Cole. He stepped out of the line of guards. He placed his boots firmly on the metal floor. He stood directly in the Queen's path. He did not hold his weapon up. He kept it low, but he did not move aside. Queen Vera stopped. She was surprised. She looked at the human soldier. Why was he blocking her? The air in the bay changed. It became heavy with tension. The Vilar guards reacted instantly. They raised their rifles, the blue lights on. Their weapons began to glow. They made humming sounds. They were ready to fire. They thought the human was attacking the Queen. Minister Paul stepped forward. He was the Queen's chief advisor. He was an old alien with sharp features. He was very angry. He shouted at Ben. He told him to move. He said this was treason. He ordered the guards to arrest Ben. He said they should take him away. Immediately, Ben did not flinch. He did not look at the minister. He did not look at the rifles pointed at his chest. He only looked at Queen Vera. His face was serious. He was not afraid. He stood like a stone wall. The Queen raised her hand. She signaled her guards to wait. She did not want them to fire. She was curious. Humans were strange. Sometimes they trusted their feelings more than computers. She wanted to know why Ben was doing this. She asked him why he would risk his life. She asked him why he stopped her from seeing Eric. Ben took a deep breath. He spoke in a calm voice. He said he had been guarding Eric for the last week. He said he watched the consort every day. He said the man on the ship looked like Eric. He sounded like Eric too, but Ben said something was wrong. The small things were not right. Minister Paul laughed. He said the bioscanners had checked Eric many times. He said the machines confirmed the identity. He said a human soldier could not know better than a scanner. Ben shook his head. He said scanners could be fooled. He said human instinct could not be fooled. He said he knew what love looked like. He said he knew what a husband looked like. The Queen looked at Ben. She looked at the shuttle. She felt a cold fear in her stomach. She remembered how Eric acted recently. He was quiet. He did not tell jokes. He did not touch her hand. She had thought he was just tired, but now she wondered. Ben spoke again. He looked her in the eye. He said the words that changed everything. He said, "My queen, wait, your husband is not the man you married." The silence in the docking bay was complete. No one moved. No one breathed. The queen stood on the edge of the ramp. The human guard stood in front of her. The truth hung in the air between them. The silence in the docking bay was heavy. The blue lights from the rifles hummed softly. Queen Vera kept her hand raised. Her guards waited for her command. They did not fire. They did not move. They only watched. The human soldier, Ben Cole, stood still. He did not shake. He did not look away. He waited for the queen to speak. Air felt thick with danger. One wrong move would end everything. Queen Vera lowered her hand slowly. She looked at Ben. Her eyes were dark and serious. She told her guards to lower their weapons. The humming sound stopped. The energy faded from the rifles. Minister Paul was angry. He stepped closer to the queen. He told her this was a mistake. He said the human was crazy. He said Ben should be punished. He said the scanners never made mistakes. The Viler Empire trusted machines. They trusted numbers and data. They did not trust feelings. They believed technology was perfect. Queen Vera ignored the minister. She looked at Ben again. She told him to explain. She said he had one chance. She said if he was wrong, he would lose his life. Ben nodded. He understood the risk. He began to speak. His voice was steady. He said he had watched Consort Eric for 7 days. He said he stood outside the door every night. He said he watched through the glass. He said the man inside looked like Eric. He sounded like Eric too. But Ben said the spirit was different. Minister Paul laughed. It was a sharp sound. He asked what spirit meant. He said DNA was the only truth. He said biology did not lie. Ben shook his head. He said biology could be copied. He said behavior could not be faked perfectly. Ben told the queen about the morning routine. He said the real Eric always drank tea with honey. He never drank it black. The man on the ship drank black tea. Ben said the real Eric always tapped his fingers on the table when he thought it was a nervous habit. The man on the ship sat very still. His hands were like stone. Queen Vera listened. She remembered the last time she saw Eric. He had drunk black tea. She had thought he just changed his taste. She remembered he sat very still during dinner. She had thought he was tired from work. Now she felt a cold fear. It grew in her chest. Ben continued. He said the real Eric always smiled at the guards. He asked them about their families. He was kind. The man on the ship never looked at the guards. He walked past them like they were not there. He was cold. He was like a statue made of flesh. Minister Paul shouted again. He said these were small things. He said humans were too simple. He said they looked for patterns where there were none. He told the queen to board the shuttle. He said time was running out. The summit was waiting. The moon was far away. Ben did not move. He stood like a mountain. He said time did not matter if the queen was walking into a trap. He said love saw things that scanners missed. He said a wife knew her husband better than a computer. Queen Vera looked at the shuttle. The door was open. It looked like freedom. It looked like safety, but now it looked like a mouth ready to close. She looked at Ben. He was just a soldier. He was not a scientist. He was not advisor, but he was human. Humans were known for survival. They were known for noticing danger. They had survived many wars. Because they trusted their guts, she looked at Minister Paul. He was sweating, his skin was shiny, he looked nervous. Why was he so eager for her to leave? The Queen made a decision. She turned away from the shuttle. She told the pilot to close the ramp. The pilot hesitated. He looked at Minister Paul. The Queen spoke louder. She ordered the ramp to close. The metal began to move. It shut with a heavy thud. Minister Paul gasped. He looked afraid. Ben let out a slow breath. He lowered his weapon slightly. The Queen walked back toward the center of the bay. She told them to bring Consort Eric to her. She said she would question him here. She said she would not leave this planet until she knew the truth. Minister Paul tried to argue. He said it was unsafe. The Queen stopped him. She said the only unsafe thing was ignoring the truth. Ben stood guard. He knew the hard part was just beginning. The real test was yet to come. The group moved to a secure room deep inside the palace. It was a small place with white walls and bright lights. There were no windows. The air was cool and still. Queen Vera sat in a chair made of silver. Ben Cole stood in the corner near the door. He held his rifle loosely. His eyes never left the entrance. Minister Paul stood near the Queen. He looked impatient. He tapped his foot on the floor. Dr. Kate stood next to him. She was the medical officer. She held a small device in her hand. It was a scanner. It beeped softly. 2 guards brought Consort Eric into the room. He walked in smoothly. He wore a blue robe. His hair was neat. He looked exactly like the husband the Queen knew. He smiled when he saw Vera. It was a perfect smile, too perfect. He walked to her and tried to take her hand. Queen Vera pulled her hand back. She did not touch him. Eric looked confused. He asked her what was wrong. He asked why they were in this room. His voice was calm. It sounded like Eric. But Ben watched closely. Ben saw that Eric did not blink enough. Humans blinked when they were nervous. Humans blinked when they thought. This man stared like a statue. Queen Vera looked at her husband. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to hug him, but she remembered Ben's words. She asked Eric a question. She asked him about their first date. She asked him what they ate. Eric answered quickly. He said they ate pizza. He said they drank soda. Facts were correct. Minister Paul nodded. He said, "See, the memory is there. The scanner confirms it." Dr. Kate looked at her device. She said the DNA matched 100%. She said there was no doubt. She said Ben was wrong. Ben stepped forward from the corner. He did not raise his weapon. He just spoke. He said the facts were right, but the feeling was wrong. He said a husband remembers how the food tasted. He remembers how the wife laughed. Eric only recited data. Ben pointed at Eric's hands. He said the real Eric had a scar on his thumb. It was very small. Eric hid his hands in his sleeves. Ben said the real Eric never hid his hands. He was proud of his work. Ben said this man was hiding something. Minister Paul became angry. He told Ben to be quiet. He said a soldier should not speak to royalty. He said humans were primitive. He said they did not understand advanced science. Dr. Kate looked unsure. She looked at Ben. She looked at the scanner. She knew humans were hired for a reason. They saw things machines missed. Machines measured heat and blood. Humans measured intent. Humans measured soul. Queen Vera stood up. She walked closer to Eric. She looked into his eyes. She saw nothing. There, it was like looking into a deep well with no water. Vera asked another question. She asked him how he felt when she left. She asked if he was lonely. Eric paused. It was a short pause, but it was there. He said he was fine. He said he worked hard. He did not say he missed her. The real Eric would have said he cried. He would have said he counted the days. Ben watched Eric's face. He saw a tiny twitch near the eye. It was a glitch, like a computer processing data. Ben knew then that he was right. This was not a man. This was a copy. Dr. Kate stepped forward. She said she could do a deeper scan. She said she could check the brain waves. Ben nodded. He said do it, but he warned them. He said if the man was controlled, the scan might trigger something. Minister Paul laughed. He said that was impossible. He said the consort was safe. He told the Queen to stop wasting time. He said the summit was waiting. He tried to move toward the door. Ben moved faster. He stepped in front of Paul. He blocked the minister. Paul stopped. He looked shocked. Ben did not say anything. He just stood there. Queen Vera saw the movement. She saw Paul try to leave. She saw Ben stop him. Her doubt turned into certainty. She looked at Eric again. She said, "You are not him." Eric smiled again. It was the same perfect smile. He said, "I am your husband." Vera shook her head. She said, "My husband loves me. You do not know what love is." Dr. Kate turned on the deep scanner. It made a high-pitched sound. Eric flinched. For the first time he looked afraid, but it was not human fear. It was the fear of a machine being found out. The room went quiet. Everyone waited for the scan to finish. Ben kept his eyes on Paul. He knew the minister was the key. The soldier knew the truth was close. The air felt electric. Someone was going to make a move soon. The high-pitched sound from a scanner stopped suddenly. The room was very quiet. Dr. Kate looked at her screen. Her face turned white. She looked up at the Queen. Her hands were shaking a little. She said the scan was finished. She said the DNA was correct. But she said there was something else inside him. She said there were tiny machines in his blood. She called them nanites. They were too small to see with normal eyes. They were controlling his brain. They were sending signals to his body from far away. Queen Vera stepped back. She felt sick to her stomach. She looked at Eric. He was standing still. He was not blinking. He was waiting for a command like a robot. Minister Paul saw the look on the doctor's face. He knew he was caught. He stopped trying to leave the room. He looked at Ben. He looked very angry. He said the Queen was making a big mistake. He said the humans were lying to her. He said they wanted to take over the empire. He reached for his belt quickly. He had a hidden weapon there. He wanted to shoot the Queen before they could stop him. Ben was ready for this. He moved faster than the aliens. Humans were known for their speed and reflexes. Ben dropped his rifle. He lunged forward. He tackled Minister Paul. They hit the floor hard. The sound echoed in the small room. Paul tried to fight. He was strong, but Ben was trained for this. Ben held Paul's arm. He twisted it behind his back. Weapon fell from Paul's hand. It slid across the smooth floor. The Viler guards rushed forward. They pointed their guns at Paul. They did not shoot. They waited for the Queen to give orders. Queen Vera shouted at Dr. Kate. She told her to stop the signal. She told her to free Eric now. Dr. Kate nodded. She typed quickly on her device. She sent a reverse pulse. She Said it would disrupt the nanites. Eric made a loud noise. It was a gasp of air. He fell to his knees. He grabbed his head. He shook violently. The Queen wanted to run to him. She wanted to hold him, but Ben shook his head. He said, "Wait, let the doctor work." It was not safe yet. After a few seconds, Eric stopped shaking. He lay on the floor. He breathed heavily. His chest moved up and down. He looked up. His eyes were different now. They were warm. They were alive. He looked at the Queen. He said, "Vera." His voice was rough. It was the real voice. The Queen ran to him. She knelt down. She held his face in her hands. She cried. She asked if he was okay. Eric nodded slowly. He said he felt like he was asleep for a long time. He said he was trapped inside his own mind. He could see everything, but he could not move. He could not speak. He was a prisoner in his own body. Minister Paul struggled on the floor. Ben kept him pinned down. Paul shouted that he did it for the Empire. He said the Queen was too weak to lead. He said the humans were poisoning her mind with lies. Ben pressed harder on his arm. He said, "You tried to hurt her. That is enough." Guards took Paul away. They locked him in heavy chains. Dr. Kate checked Eric again. She said the nanites were inactive. He was safe now. Eric stood up. He was weak. The Queen supported him. She held his arm. He looked at Ben. He thanked the soldier. He said, "You saw what no one else saw." Ben shook his head. He said, "I just did my job." Eric smiled. It was a real smile. It had cracks and imperfections. It was beautiful. He looked at the Queen. He told her a secret. He said, "Do you remember the flower I gave you?" He said, "It was a blue rose from Earth." He said, "I told you it would never die." The Queen cried harder. Only the real Eric knew that story. The room was quiet now. The danger was gone. The imposter was gone. The traitor was caught. Queen Vera stood up. She held her husband's hand. She looked at Ben. She said, "You saved us." She said, "You saved the Empire." Ben picked up his rifle. He stood back. In the corner, he was just a guard. Again, but everyone looked at him with respect. The aliens saw something new. They saw that humans had a gift. They saw that technology was not everything. Sometimes you needed a human heart to find the truth. The Queen knew she would never ignore a human guard again. Guards took Minister Paul away. They dragged him out of the secure room. His face was full of hate. He shouted that he was right. He shouted that the Queen was weak, but no one listened. The doors closed behind them. The noise stopped. The room was quiet again. Dr. Kate put her scanner away. She looked tired. She had worked very hard. Queen Vera helped Eric stand up. He was still weak. His legs shook a little, but he was standing. He was alive. He was himself. Vera looked around the room. All the advisors and guards were watching her. They were waiting for her words. She knew she had to speak. She had to explain what happened. She looked at Ben Cole. He was still standing in the corner. He looked like he always did. He was calm. He was ready. He did not look like a hero. He just looked like a soldier, but Vera knew he was more than that. She walked to the center of the room. She spoke to everyone. She said, "Today we learned a hard lesson." She said, "We trust our machines too much. We trust our scanners and our data, but machines can be tricked. Numbers can be faked." She pointed at Ben. She said, "This human saw the truth. He did not use a scanner. He used his eyes. He used his heart." She said, "Humans are different. They are not like us. They feel things we do not." Understand, they notice small changes. They know when something is wrong, she said. From now on, humans will not be just guards, they will be partners, they will be advisors. Their instinct is a weapon. We need, the aliens in the room nodded. They looked at Ben with new respect. Before this day, they thought humans were simple, now they knew humans were special. Eric stepped forward, he held the Queen's hand, he looked at Ben, he said, "Thank you," his voice was strong. Now he said, "You saved my life, you saved my wife, you saved our future." Ben shook his head. He said, "I only did my job," he said. "I was paid to watch." "I watched," Eric smiled, he said. "Most people look, but you see, that is different." Vira agreed, she said, "We will leave for the summit now, but things will be different. We will not rush, we will be careful." The group walked back to the docking bay. The silver walls shined under the blue lights. The shuttle was waiting. The ramp was open again, but this time the mood was calm. There was no fear. There was no rush. The guards checked the ship twice. Dr. Kate scanned Eric one more time. She said he was clean. The nanites were gone. He was safe. Vira and Eric walked to the ramp. They stopped before they stepped up. Vira turned to Ben. She said, "Come with us." She said, "I want you on the ship. I want you near me." Ben hesitated. He said, "My post is here. My job is to guard the palace." Vira shook her head. She said, "Your job is to keep us safe. That means you come with us." Ben nodded. He understood. He followed them up the ramp. The other guards stayed behind. They watched the human soldier walk with the Queen. It was a great honor. Usually only high aliens could walk so close to royalty. But Ben walked like it was normal. He did not boast. He did not smile too much. He just did his duty. Inside the shuttle, the seats were soft. The engines hummed quietly. Eric sat next to Vira. He held her hand tightly. He did not let go. Ben sat near the door. He watched the entrance. He watched the shadows. He was always watching. The ship began to move. It lifted off the ground. The docking bay became smaller below them. They flew up into the sky. The stars were waiting. The summit was on the moon, but the danger was behind them. Vira looked out the window. She saw the planet below. She thought about what almost happened. If Ben had not stopped her, she would have left. She would have taken the imposter to the summit. The enemy would have won. The Empire would have fallen, all because she trusted a machine more than a person. She looked at Ben. He was asleep now. His head was back. His breathing was slow. He looked peaceful. She whispered to Eric. She said, "We were lucky." Eric said, "No." He said, "We were not lucky." He said, "We were protected." He said, "Humans are protectors. They stand in the way of danger. They take the hits for us." Vira agreed. She said, "I will never forget this. I will never ignore a human." Again, the ship flew through the dark space. The moon got bigger. It was bright and white. The story of Ben Cole would spread. Other humans would hear about it. They would know that their instinct was valued. The aliens would learn to listen. Technology was good, but humanity was necessary. The shuttle landed on the moon. The doors opened. The summit was ready. Vira and Eric stood up. They walked out together. Ben followed them. He stepped onto the moon dust. He checked the area. He looked left and right. He was ready for anything. The Queen walked into the light. She was safe. Her husband was safe because one human guard trusted his gut. He blocked the path. He spoke the truth. He saved the Queen. And as the leaders met and talked, Ben stood in the back. He was quiet, he was still, but he was watching. He was the human guard, and he saw everything.